know.
Joss Stone, wasn't that lovely?
It was lovely,
What was that going on there? They've started already. We have.
We say, no, she's higher than me. She's got a higher chair than me.
It's not. No need to get in a pecking order thing going on.
We fancy you more than Churchill.
You're in.
We've got the hots for you.
That's being damned by faint praise, isn't it? Fancied more than Churchill. That's not. I mean, sure, Justin Timberlake. Then we're getting somewhere. Nazis. He had a great way of saying that, didn't he? The Nazis.
I love that interview with Dustin Hoffman.
Thank you. What, the one that I did or the one that Churchill did?
Imagine that.
No, I like yours better than Churchill's.
I'm slightly addled with the flu. I've got a terrible... Do I look sweaty to you right now?
No, you look fantastic, doesn't he, Emma?
You do. You look as if you have mascara on. You have the prettiest eyes.
I do not have mascara on. Maybe a tiny bit of Touche Eclat left over from... how are you both? You both look very well. You both seem to be getting on okay.
I know. We get on really well.
But I had the
Honestly.
feeling... Well, Emma, I had the feeling before from talking to your mum that there was a degree of that you were quite a difficult, quite obnoxious person. That's the image she's given out for when you're listening.
I keep telling her she should just go to eBay and get a better daughter. I've tried. This is it. This is as good as it gets.
eBay is great, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can't get children on eBay, but you can get most things. But Anne, obviously there is a genuine relationship here. There's not just a kind of biological one.
But it's as tricky as... I mean, would you take your mother on a road trip in an ancient car across the south where there are no Ritz-Carltons? We never saw a Ritz-Carlton in a fortnight. We saw grotty motels.
Yeah, I don't think I'd want to. It does sound like a brilliant premise for a show, which of course is... Was that why you did it, or was there another reason for doing it?
The mission statement was for you to watch it and make you feel better about your life.
That's it. That's what's going to happen, I suspect. But it's fascinating. But at the same time, you're giving away, I would have thought, quite a lot about yourselves, aren't you? I mean, it's not intrusive as such. I'm assuming you had some control over what was left in and what was left out.
We had absolutely no control,
really?
Jonathan. There were 2 cameras on the dashboard. There was
One
a sort of Woody Allen... director called Michael, who made us do everything 5 times.
Yeah.
There was a crew with us, and there were very long days. And we did go through a bit of no speaking, didn't we?
And she never stopped complaining.
Yeah, well, we can imagine that.
Well, it's very hard, actually.
But
she is quite tricky. You are tricky, Emma.
Yeah, you are, Emma.
What's hard? All you had to do was sit there.
Yeah. You're just agreeing.
Well, you can't disagree with Anne, because Anne, Anne's probably got quite a handy right hook.
Yeah.
But it might, I'm sure, I mean, I'm really looking forward to seeing it, but there must be things that occur when you're in that confined space.
But look at this. I purposely picked us a big old American car with this massive front seat.
What is the car itself? Is it an Eldorado?
Eldorado, 1976
You go
Eldorado.
to the top of the class to give out the pencils. You learnt that. You read that.
No, I knew it was an Eldorado Cadillac, so actually I am quite fond of
He's
American
so
cars.
sexy.
Right.
Don't you think,
And
Ellis?
how-
He's sexy.
Of
Hey,
course.
this will get you going. That's how sexy I am right now. There's a flop sweat on me, and I've got a right... Why is only one nostril leaking, do you think?
I don't know. We were trying to work... When we weren't asleep out there, we were trying to work that out. Jonathan, how's your tennis?
It's not so good.
Isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's better than Andy's. It's not, hey, let's not go on about my tennis. Let's go on about you and Emma stuck in a car. When I was last in a car with my mother in a confined space, this was Mother's Day a few years ago. She came out for lunch with us. I mean, I've seen her on other Mother's Day. And it's this weekend Mother's Day, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sunday, which I suppose makes
it's Sunday week.
Oh, is it?
Sunday week. You were saying it's this
God,
weekend.
you're good sons.
I'm going on Gordon Ramsay's thing that he was cooking for Mother's Day.
Yeah, I've told you before, when you open a magazine, read the words as well as look at the pictures, OK? That's only half the
It
story
doesn't
you're
say,
getting.
it just says Mother's Day.
No, it's next week, Mother. It's different in America,
Well, it's
isn't
Gordon Ramsay's fault.
I went for lunch with my mum once and she got a little bit tipsy on the way back. And
I've had that happen.
Well, that's kind of... that's when I think you begin to see your parents in a different light. And I was playing a sort of compilation to keep the kids kind of calm in the background, and it came on the Queen track, We Will Rock You. And my mum started singing along in a way which only older people sing along, which is not quite singing along with the song. She was doing a sort of jazz scat to it, which I cannot begin to tell you how annoying. She went, we will rock you, rock you, rock you. And I thought, OK, I'm gonna kick her out the car. Also, she was clapping too loudly for a confined space.
Now, you do know that you haven't grown up till your parents stop embarrassing you.
Is that the kind of benchmark, you think?
Yeah.
So they can no longer get to you in that way?
No, and you don't excuse them and you don't have to explain them to people. You're just very, very cool about who they are.
That's a very zen approach, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's not one Emma's reached yet,
No.
and I doubt whether you've reached
You
it.
can't accept yet.
No, it's hard.
Okay.
I actually watched a little girl. We were on holiday a couple of years ago in Mallorca, and there was a horrendous family argument going on in the middle of a piazza. It was all very beautiful, except for this English family just going at it. And there was a little girl sitting there. She was about 4. And she just got a napkin and put it over her head. I was like, that's brilliant.
That's the way to deal with it. Like an iguana, you zone everyone out.
Yeah.
So what does your mum do then? What are the kind of the top 3 or 4 irritating things that Anne Robinson does that only you are?
Oh, how long have you got?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what was getting to me most.
You didn't like me eating all the time in the car.
No, she's sort of like a little ferret.
And a noisy eater?
Messy.
Yeah.
Very messy.
And the real
also-
tragedy was... Can I speak, please?
Please
Yes,
do.
go on.
I just have to tell, this is a warning for everyone. If you're getting jelly beans in America and you get the low fat, you need to read the bit of the box which says these act as a laxative.
She ate
Oi.
the entire box.
Oh, you don't want that.
And then, we're meant to be going to see, the nice spots in Nashville. All I got to do was tour around the loos.
That's not nice. That's not good. And you can't be
Squiffy
pleasant
tummy
company. Were you also making the air unpleasant in the car? Was it coming
No,
out in that way?
it was a convertible, so that's one thing you
Roof
can't
down.
give them.
Okay, that's cool.
She started talking like the Queen or Margaret Thatcher. And sentences started with, I often tell people. I'm like, who are these people?
You are quite grand, Anne. I mean, I think...
I'm not grand,
No, I think you are without realising it. I think you are.
I think you're so sexy.
No, don't try and get... You see, don't think we're not aware of this basic psychology at work here. As soon as we get close to anything that might be close to the truth, out comes the defence mechanism. But I think you are, and I think you're right to be, because you are, you're a fascinating person, you're an interesting person, you're also, an achiever.
We think this is the best radio show
here we
in
go.
the world.
This is, but seriously, you are quite, in a way, I think you're imperious almost.
Yeah, but you have to be at the BBC to get them to do what you want, don't you think?
I don't know, I just do what I'm told.
No, you don't.
That's why they like me. So now, what other things happen in the car? I mean, you rowed much, or was it kind of fairly
we
just
rowed,
tense?
and I think what happens, I think if you're that long with a parent in any one day, you go through about 5 or 6 different moods, don't you?
Yeah.
You're full of fun, you swing, then something irritating is said.
And similar to when you had lunch with your mum,
Yeah.
and she had a little bit too much. I mean, the next time you think, oh, Groundhog Day, I've been here before.
And we haven't learned anything.
No.
But you're not a drinker, are you, anymore?
No,
you
I
knocked it
haven't
all on the
touched
head.
a drop for 25 years.
And Emma, do you drink?
I try. I'm getting better at it.
So did you drink while you were together, or do you find out that you don't drink with your mother? You kind of defer to her not wishing to see you drinking?
No, I in Savannah was a place where I managed to dump her, and I head downtown and had a Pabst beer at this famous place called Pinky's Bar, which is where Jimmy Carter ran his
That
presidential
does sound good. A Pabst beer in Pinky's. See, I haven't drunk for years, and that sounds quite tempting to me. Are you one of these ex-boozers who are tempted to drink, or are you not? Is it not an issue for you anymore, Anne?
I've just I think I was one of these people that thought if you couldn't really drink, there was no point in drinking.
Yeah.
So I gave up completely.
She's very excessive. It's like the jelly beans.
Yeah.
It's all or nothing. You saw the sunglasses. I mean, they either cover your entire head.
They're rather good.
Anne came in with
sunglasses.
gigantic sunglasses on. I have a theory that as women get older, the sunglasses get exponentially bigger to cover more of the face, and they think that they're kind of, it's like either the Botox or the sunglasses.
Well, it starts
Or
looking like-
both.
Have you had Botox? You had Botox, didn't you?
Yeah, everyone. Can I tell you, the world is divided into women over 40 who admit to having Botox and those who don't admit to having Botox.
I might have some done.
Why?
Yeah.
I might have it done on my stomach.
Or how about your left nostril? See if
That would
that
be
clears
great.
it up.
Heal it up. Or super glue might come in handy there.
Yeah.
So where were we? We were talking about Botox, we were talking about glasses, and we were talking about jelly beans.
And
Yes.
we were talking about age differences. How old are you, Jonathan?
I'm 43.
Oh, you really?
Yeah, I'm
That's
good for it, aren't I?
fantastic.
Look at that. Andy, however.
How old is Andy?
38.
A
Really?
baby.
Yeah.
And now, are you with someone at the moment? What's wrong with that question?
Her mother.
Lovely tie.
Emma, because I'm just thinking.
She tried to pick up cowboys in the south.
For you.
She is with somebody at the moment.
Because you have do you have a child as well?
No, I don't have a child.
You have
Oh,
one you
John,
haven't
I'm
told your
so
mum about
glad
yet.
you've mentioned that
Yeah, you
because
must
I
want-
really want some grandchildren.
Because Andy was talking about you breeding her earlier on. And
I had pictures of the alien in my head the way you were talking about it.
It just slipped out wrongly. But it sort of is technically like that.
Do you get the pressure to breed from
Yes,
mother? Yeah.
she's already got a box under the stairs.
Because mum wants
a
a
bit like the
grandchild.
Labrador.
It's true. I mean, you've been good to your mother in that way, Jonathan.
Very, very good to her.
How
Very
many have
good.
you popped out?
3.
3. I haven't popped them out. We don't do the work. We don't do it at all. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about the menopause.
Oh, good. I love the menopause.
Yeah, I was watching Sex and the City this week. I think I've been through it.
Oh, good.
But I'm sweating a lot today. Maybe this is just a hot flush. Maybe this is how it comes in men. Now, what are we going to play now, Andy?
Bit of the Thrills.
Okay, Bit of the Thrills.
Oh, we love the Thrills.
Anne Robinson and her daughter Emma Wilson after this. That's the Thrills. They're a great band, aren't they?
Yeah.
We've got Anne Robinson and Emma Wilson with us. They have survived the ordeal of getting in a car together and driving around the southern states of America. Now, the southern states, they're, I guess, more interesting than going just to the big cities. Is that what was the attraction there was?
Well, I take a lot of road trips, and it was an area I hadn't been down to, Georgia, Savannah. We went to a swamp, the Okefenokee Swamp.
See, that sounds like something from Scooby-Doo. It sounds like you've made that up.
Listen, Jonathan, once you've seen one alligator, you don't need to see any more.
I'm just being wound up by Andy. I didn't realise we were that close to the news. So.
We were absolutely bang on time with that record. It ended at 11. I thought, you've got it. I said, go to the news.
Well, next time,
what?
Doughboy, while the record's on, why don't you lean over and say,
I said,
chat when we come back? Well, we were having a proper conversation here.
We've got to stop for the news.
He was feeling excluded, that's what it was. All right,
I wasn't. I said, go to the news.
I heard you.
Thank you.
Well, you're getting very unpopular. 88 to 91 FM, this is Radio 2 for the BBC. That's great. That was Wet, 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 I believe, wasn't it? Who was that?
The Trogs.
The Trogs. Of course it was the Trogs. You're a child of the 60s, Anne, aren't you?
I am indeed, yes.
Is that the music
I'm not only my child of the 60s, but I come from Liverpool. I saw the Beatles when they were still performing in the Cavern.
Oh, no, you
and
didn't.
You know
you
who
really,
was doing
hold it. Did you really? You really did.
No, quite
You're not just saying that
genuinely.
to impress us.
No. Lunch times, they were in the Cavern and Cilla Black used to take the coats. And not only
Well, you
that...
can't have everything.
Can I just tell you that...
See, Liverpool people, say stealing your coat and she's proud about it. You're just playing to the cliches there, Anne.
And not only that, but Brian Epstein used to serve in Nem's, the record shop, in those days.
And were they, presumably they were great live, but were they special? Did it really feel like it was something unique?
Well, I think there were quite a lot of groups. They used to sing a song called Take Me to the Land of Happiness, which never made a hit, which was wonderful to hear them live.
And this was one of their own songs?
Yeah, I don't know, actually. I've never heard it since.
I've never even heard of that track. I'm sure there are lots of... record types out there who know exactly who recorded that.
And the problem was that I came to London, and of course my mother had spent thousands of pounds making sure I didn't have a Liverpool accent. By the end of the 60s, the only thing to have in London
was a
Scouse accent.
It kind of got that way during the 90s, after when the Happy Mondays and all that Manchester thing happened. Everyone wanted to speak like a northern oik rather than a southern oik. Yeah. Emma has undone her hair for us. What beautiful hair you have, Emma.
Thank you.
But did you suffer from being a ginger-headed person when you were younger? It's in many ways it's a stigma as well as a blessing, isn't it?
Some of the names were Duracell being my favourite.
Duracell.
The copper-collared top. No one looks like it or laughs like it.
And that's what you got mainly at school. Is that why you left the country?
And then there were Ginger ones, which we won't get into.
Ginger, because Ginger is just an unpleasant word.
Ginger.
Oh, Ginga Minga.
Ginger.
That's not nice, though, is it?
No.
I think ginger hair looks wonderful. It looks really so striking and pretty. Almost always. Chris Evans, I'll make an exception for. But you've kind of lost your gingerness, haven't you?
I have, actually. Mine's assisted red hair now.
Yeah. Oh, I see.
Got some low lights in it, but it does fade eventually. But I'm nearly 60, Jonathan.
Oh, well, you're very good for nearly 60.
Thank
I know
you.
you've obviously had everything done that you can.
I cued you in, you'd say that.
I know you've had the scaffolding in for a while, but you're looking good for 60. Do you now? When the Weakest Link happened in America, how was that for you, Emma? That must have been quite strange to suddenly see.
Shocking.
Yeah.
No, it was brilliant. The big shock was going down Times Square, and there was this entire building front that was a billboard of Madam here.
I saw those posters. They looked quite terrifying because you were wearing, I think, it appeared to be a leather butcher's smock.
Yes.
In the one I saw, which was like floor length, and you looked like a Dalek.
Yeah, the Americans quite like the leather look. Actually, apart from the Bible Belt, they are quite. They like raunchy older women. And in fact, the funny thing is, there weren't any women of my age apart from Barbara Walters, who's about 117, on American television. I mean, they're all young bimbos.
That was what was quite interesting about you making it over there, really. And I suppose being British as well probably helped that, did it? It was like we're importing someone who.
Well, I think it was something absolutely different, something they'd never really had nasty quiz shows before, because everyone is terribly friendly over there,
in a very superficial way, of course.
Well, everything's superficial. At NBC we had Johnny Carson's old studio, and despite all the political correctness, they actually pay the audience $40 a head, and before the show starts, the director's in the box saying, "Get that ugly one out of the front row,
Really?
bring someone pretty in." You know, it's a great double value
Yeah,
country,
I
isn't
think
it?
I'd rather have people that are being superficially nice to me than genuine and nasty as I get older. I think I prefer that have a nice day ethos.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the journey you made on this show that Anne and Emma have made together. It's just a one-off, is it? Or is
Yeah,
it a one-off?
well, it is at the moment. It's on tomorrow night at 9 o'clock.
On BBC One.
On BBC One.
Now, you travelled through the South. What did you think of the South? What was the South like? Because I think we have an image of the South being largely not very smart people, possibly borderline racist or out and out, people. Did you see anyone wearing a pillowcase on their head? Was it like that? Is it as
No, but I'll
overt as
tell
one
you
feels?
what. First of all, Savannah was wonderful, because if you've seen Midnight in the Garden of Eden,
Yeah.
and I think that was one of the places that I really felt it was as wonderful architecturally and as romantic as the film. But other places, you are actually shocked by both the poverty and the obesity. I mean, there's no good getting away. People are huge.
They are big, aren't they?
It was
Emma
one of
wants
the-
to say something.
Yeah,
She's
I'm
put
getting
her
to raise.
hand
I learned this in the
Nice to
car.
see you haven't forgotten your manners.
Yeah.
You're obviously raised right.
Seen and not heard. Well, the one thing that we'd actually, if we weren't speaking, the fact is you'd soon see some fat people, and that would bond us because
Yeah.
you'd feel thin in comparison.
Did you have a kind of? Were you playing like I Spy? Did you have to see who could
We
spot the
played.
most?
Can we say shag or die?
Shag or die? I think you can say it, but whether or not we want it explained in depth is a different thing.
Well, on like
I
day
see.
10,
I see what you're saying.
we came up with the game where you get to give up 2 blokes or the bullet. Which are you going to take? One of them to bed or the bullet?
Now, surely, no one's that bad.
We had some interesting
come on.
combinations.
Okay.
We had Danny DeVito and Robert Redford.
Yeah.
Well, that's not too difficult. I give you Ken Livingstone.
Oh, yeah. Obviously, hold
Or-
on, I am coming to this from a
Peter
slightly
Sisson.
different
Yes.
perspective. Ken Livingstone, yeah. Now, what would be the worst thing about waking up next to Ken Livingstone, do you think? I think the trail he leaves from the bed to the bathroom might be off-putting. He is
The
a bit...
voice would be very difficult, wouldn't it?
But you presumably you're not that promiscuous, either of you, are you?
I suspect
you're
he
in
has
a
driving
relationship
gloves.
with Penrose, aren't you, Anne?
I'm in a relationship with Paul Penrose, as he's known.
Poor long-suffering husband. And you're in a relationship.
I'm in
as
a
well.
relationship.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you weren't actually actively seeking partners on the road.
No, but I think what is quite nice in
But
our
she's
better,
a big flirt.
Yeah, of course.
in our better moments, I think what has happened in the generations. You see, I'd never discussed sex with my mum. But we don't mind discussing sex, do we, and boyfriends?
Well,
Would you discuss sex with your mum, Jonathan?
Ideally not.
That's what's changed, isn't it, with the generations?
Have you ever, Emma, did you ever hear your mum having sex when you were growing up?
oh no. Oh.
I heard my mum and dad going up at once. I've never recovered.
No.
I've got a tape of it if you want to hear it. Of course I don't. If she's listening, Mum,
Your
keep the
mum's
noise down.
lovely, though. Your mum's very proud of you, isn't she?
She is very proud of me, and quite rightly. Why wouldn't she be?
Yeah, but the other thing you learn is that when your kids get older, if you want to be part of their lives, you have to sort of negotiate and be useful. Otherwise,
there
they're
is a
quite
time when it shifts, and that the balance of power. so
Yeah,
to
because
speak,
they
you know,
don't need you to feed them, they don't need your money, they don't need a roof over their heads. So you have to start behaving yourself. And we all us mothers, I think, get a bit sort of like spaniels panting and saying, "How high can I jump for you?"
Do you? What are your
Higher.
fondest, Emma? What are your fondest memories of your mum when you were growing up, of your childhood? What is your nicest overriding memory?
Oh, that's tough.
Do you want me to start? I'll tell you my one.
Yeah.
My one is we were quite poor,
Yeah.
and I remember my mum taking us. My dad was working, and she took us to a circus, and it was quite a long way away. The circus, so we didn't have enough money to go to the circus and go there by bus, so we walked. So we set off. This is going to break your heart. Here we go. Get ready. I haven't got any violins with you. Anne.
Yeah.
And
I'll
we
find
walked to
something.
the circus, and so there were 6 of us children. And when we got there, she still didn't have enough money for sort of going. So she paid for us going. She waited outside.
Oh, that's mother. That's a really,
There you go.
really wonderful
And I
mum,
remember
isn't it?
her holding her hand on the way home. And even as a kid, I remember thinking, Mum didn't see the circus, which frankly spoiled it for me a bit. You know. I mean, she
Can
could have
you
pretended
remember
she
something
saw it.
selfless I did like that?
Did she ever do anything? About...
That's so
All right,
horrible.
let's put a record on. We'll give you 5 minutes to make something up. That's the lovely Amy Winehouse. She's terrific, isn't she?
Yeah, and she'll be on the show next week.
She's only about 20 as well. What's
She
going
is
on with
20,
these young
yeah.
people? How do you deal with it, and all these youngsters coming up?
I just think I've gone into my Nancy Reagan phase. I mean, I'm much older than anyone else on television, really.
I suppose it gives you a certain freedom as well. You can be the older statesperson. You can be as irritating and irritable as you want to be.
That's what I do. Jonathan, are there any female film critics?
There are a few, yeah. Mariella Frostrup does it. There's a woman
yes.
called Antonia Quirk who does it for The Independent, I believe. There's a
I
woman
tell you
for
what,
The Guardian who does it.
I went to see Susie Gold. You haven't seen it yet.
I haven't seen Susie Gold.
Absolutely loved it. And it's so upsetting when everyone says, oh, it's not much of a film. And I think there's a difference between blokes and girls when it comes to movies.
I think you're possibly right, and it's not just
Possibly?
the need.
Do we need
right.
the possibly there?
I think we do need the possibly there because a lot of time critics I think can factor in that the movie isn't necessarily for them.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. But I do get a bit tired of seeing just, it's men of a certain age reviewing movies. Obviously, I'm the exception. But most of them, I do, I sometimes sit in screening rooms and you see a movie and think, this is a great film for its intended audience. Yeah. And people don't factor that in.
Emma spends her life at the movies.
Not a whole life, I'm sure.
No, but I get to do a lot of screenings as well. Do you get to walk out of them? Because nobody knows who I am. I can just slide out if it's a screening.
I don't feel I have to walk out of them. What I do is I have a little nap if I really don't like it. I find that's much more productive because I've got nowhere to go to anyway, frankly. Yeah, that's how you do get to the age. Do you don't row with your partner, do you, Anne, much?
What, Penrose?
Yeah.
No. He just does what I want.
Well, you've got that sort of... Do you row with your partner much?
Never.
No, you don't.
It's an early relationship.
See the body language, she froze right up there. And are you going to have children, do you think?
I haven't
I'm
thought
so
about
glad
it.
you've asked.
Do you think I should?
I think you should.
To ask.
You think I should?
Whether he wants to or not, I think you should just have a couple.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pop a couple out, and then he'll grow to like them.
Shall I tell you the
me
problem
sound
with
like
my
I'm breeding.
Oh, she's
well, you are,
talking, and I'm talking.
Yes, Anne.
No. The problem
Yes,
with
Mum.
my generation, we wanted our kids all to have our daughters to have really terrific careers, and then when they get to 30, I know it's my fault. I say to her, forget the career, just have some babies.
But you can do both, can't you?
You did.
Yes.
Yeah, but not very well,
not
of course,
terribly
no.
brilliantly.
Do you remember your mum in her drunk years? Do you remember her being
They were entertaining. I remember it well. Churchill was there.
It must have been, I would have thought, quite entertaining sometimes, but more often than not, just
Ish.
pretty
yes.
hideous.
Yeah.
What was she like as a drunk?
Entertaining. She was very good at it. It was full on. It's a bit like...
Anecdotal? She was, she'd hold court, or she'd just do things?
Well, I was very young. I just remember a very...
How old were you then?
I was about 3.
Oh, that's too young to really remember.
3 to... When did you stop?
No, I didn't stop till about 7, actually.
Yeah.
But she
I've just blanked that bit out.
Well, she hid it better for the last 4 years.
I didn't. I was hopeless for the last 4 years. I was incapable of anything, actually. I mean, at the worst, I weighed less than 6 stone. They gave me about 6 weeks to live.
That's really scary, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I think you've got to do things thoroughly.
You're going to explore alcohol.
But but it does teach you, I mean, I always say that Daniel never went back into the lion's den to get his hat, I mean, once you're that badly scarred by it.
Once you've experienced it, you don't go back there. But it's not a period I would have thought that you can... I mean, you obviously can't do anything about changing about it, but it's not a period that seems to have damaged your relationship. You seem to be totally together. Very sorted, very kind of stable. So
she's very tricky.
You maintain... But do you feel guilt about that period?
Well, I think. Listen, all mothers feel guilt. I always say a mother's place is in the wrong, and it was very hard, Jonathan, because I didn't get custody of her. So there were 10 years when she was growing up where, although Emma's sweet enough to say I was absolutely 100% in her life, I lived with every other weekend and half the holidays. So I didn't take her to ballet classes. The lot that I was looking on longingly from a distance, which was tough, and I wrote about it mainly because I don't think those sort of decisions would be made now. I think if there was, if I'd been incapable, they'd have gone back and looked at it a few years later. So it was a hard time, and it's very much of that period.
And the good thing is I had a really good dad. He's wonderful.
He comes out of it very well now. Really nice to see you both this morning. Thank you so much for coming in.
We really fancy you, Jonathan.
I know you do. Well, how about a threesome? A mother-daughter... What's wrong with that? Is that wrong of me to suggest that?
We think this is... Do you know what's wonderful? Can I just say this before we go? That really hippie young women... when we said we were coming on here, they all listened to the Jonathan Ross show. I think you transformed Radio 2.
I have an
very much doubt
18-year-old
that's true.
sister listening in Liverpool, in Edinburgh right now.
It's probably because her radio's broken. There's people talk about this station being big.
And we
It's not
mustn't
really.
forget Andy, must we?
Well,
normally do.
No, he is a vital part of the programme.
Yeah.
He's like my Zimmer frame.
Yes. I think your mother should be very proud of you.
Thank you very much indeed.
That's all right.
Thank you. And you should be very proud of your one. And when she finally pops a couple out, she can be proud of them.
You can call one Jonathan, if it's a
Come on,
good boy.
little ginger children running around. Beautiful.
Yeah. little Johnny.
So, I mean, some children can be unattractive, though. There's a baby in Sex and the City at the moment, a ginger baby in there. Wow, that's an ugly kid.
It is.
It's like a little orangutan.
Perhaps it is.
Most
You
babies
notice the
are.
correct pronunciation there. Orangutan. David Attenborough himself taught me how to say that. Anne and Emma can be seen tomorrow night. Oh, no, sorry. Yeah, it is tomorrow night on BBC One at 9 p.m. Travels with My Unfit Mother.
No.
I'm going to be watching.
Thank you.
It's going to be great, I think.
Thank you.
Thank you both for coming in.
Okay.
Come back next time you're in town.
Okay.
And
Thanks,
we've got a
Sonic.
bit of Willie Nelson for them.
Oh, dear, must we? This is Anne's choice. This is what this show's sparing you from.